Hey there, losers, cool beans, and other lovable weirdos. Are you using fictional horror scenarios to escape your to-do list and all of the worries in your little human brain? Me too, come on in. This week we are back with more Mycorrhiza. We have a new door, the final door for us to explore. So we've had eldritch-esque cruise ships, mysterious pet-affecting plants. What could the other door possibly have? There is absolutely endless potential, and I can't wait to see what terrific, or terrorific, if you will, things await. Okay, so door number 2, the nice little middle door, is what we will be doing today, and I make a mental note to myself once again that I need to replay the third door, which was the first door we did, on my own time, just for the key completion, see what secrets unlock for that. Don't worry, when we get to that point, there'll be a video, don't worry. But I'm not going to force you to sit through the whole door again. Because I've recorded that at Chris's, and Mycorrhiza does not have cloud save storage. Which is quite valid, because who else is going to have a visual novel across 2 computers? If you're the one other person, please raise your hand and then wave at me and hello. It's okay, we're valid in our own chaotic ways. But without further ado, that is a lot of faces. There's the other world, a guide to funny faces. Oh, wow. There's the part with there's mildly disturbing, uncanny valley, not quite human vibes. And then there's the part where my social anxiety just went, eek! Okay, I'm seeing the plant pupper. I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. There was some kind of animal or monster, and there was some eerie Oh, you mean like the one we just got attacked was your nightmare? Literally us getting attacked, and then we've woken up here again? I had forgotten most of the dream, but I knew that it must have been terrifying. Okay, now I'm curious if the other door is different if you don't do it first. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. I took deep breaths and started mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. I don't think that's that weird. I think that can be a potentially common occurrence. Just, maybe not in this economy, depending on your light bulbs, but hey. A look out of the window confirmed that it was still night. I had either slept for a whole day, or only for a few hours. Considering how tired I felt, it must have been the latter. I don't know, I'd believe the whole day. I left the bedroom to retry the doors, just in case. They were still locked. I really wanted to go home and take a shower. I smelled my clothes, and they indeed had started to smell slightly sour. This place seemed to have nothing left to offer. I'd be better off out in the streets, even if it was still dark. All I needed to do was find a police station. They'd definitely be able to help me. Oh yeah, because that worked out in the last door. As I wandered around, I grew more and more aware of how big this town was. The buildings were tall, and nature was rather scarce. The streets, however, were completely empty. Suddenly, my ears began to pick up the subtle sounds of laughter. Ooh, the sounds turned to unease in my empty stomach. But what could possibly go wrong with laughter? It was awfully late for such a public crowd. There wasn't cheering or rounds of applause. Just laughter. loud and obnoxious laughter that didn't seem to subside or grow. It became louder as I approached the town center. Soon, it turned into a wave of commotion by what sounded to be a massive crowd. They just laughed and laughed and kept laughing. It sounded dreadful. I was tempted to change course and avoid them. Yet, this direction was my best bet for finding an inn or a police station. These priorities outweighed my sense of danger. Can you say, bad idea? I pressed on. The laughter was bellowing with hundreds of voices, until finally I could glimpse the source of the commotion. The crowd gathered around a performer who was doing something to make them laugh. I strained to see the action, peeking through the small gaps between the people while keeping a safe distance. The group was just too dense. I couldn't see any details. That's probably for the best. Curiosity overwhelmed me, and I started pushing through the people. They seemed to melt away without paying me much attention. As I approached, I passed a table with books. I don't know why, but I think my brain just went to Dead by Daylight for a moment because I really wanted to read the terrible hooks. Not even close, but okay, brain. Okay. You okay up there? I couldn't make out their title, but I could see something that resembled a mask on the cover. Paying it no mind, I pressed onwards. I couldn't understand what was happening. Welcome to this entire game. The performer wasn't making any sounds. I couldn't make out any movement from beyond the crowd either. What was so entertaining? Yes, tell me, my funny fellow. Finally, I reached the front. But what I saw was the opposite of funny. It was horrifying. Hello, friend. I see you've got a bit of a Cerberus deal going on. Except without the cute pupper vibe. I'm getting direct eye contact and I don't like it. What was wrong with his head? I mean, that's awfully rude of us. He turned his hips so that everyone in the crowd could have a clear view. As if he didn't want anyone to miss it. Why are people laughing at this? A bystander heard me. Uh-oh. I don't know. His face just seems so funny. I mean, look at it. I stared at him in disbelief. He and the others really did seem to find this funny. Were they seeing something I wasn't? No matter how I looked at it, it didn't seem like anything other than disturbing. I averted my gaze and walked away. I wanted nothing to do with this madness. Too late now, friend. I continued to comb through the town center while trying to keep my distance from the crowd. Soon I noticed that the sun had already started to rise, so we're obviously safe and nothing can go wrong, right? Right? And I still hadn't found anything that even vaguely resembled a police station. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? Hey, you, I wondered. I had walked by a girl that was standing nearby. She was watching the crowd from a distance. Yeah, it is. I was glad to hear that someone else was thinking the same. An awkward pause followed. I'd been under the impression that she wanted to start up a conversation, but I guess that wasn't the case. My stomach broke the silence. Are you hungry? Blood shot to my face. It was true that I was feeling starved. Swallowing my pride, I nodded. I have a sandwich with me. You can have it. Is it made out of those plants or something? Are you sure? No worries, I'm not hungry anyways. How nice of you. I had to hold myself back as to not lunge onto it, but I kept my cool and ate it cautiously as to not embarrass myself. Some of my strength returned to me. In the meanwhile, I decided to ask her about this town. Sorry, I don't really know my way around here that well. Oh, so you're not from here? No, not really. Maybe I could help you look. I'm feeling a bit uneasy about being alone here anyways. I glanced back in the direction of the laughing crowd. Sure, I would really appreciate that. I'm Scott, by the way. I'm May. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too, May, but I'm very suspicious. We set off to look for help. The idea to call someone I knew from May's phone came up, but she didn't have it on her, unfortunately. Oh, did you leave it in another door, maybe, May? Is that what happened? We approached several people to ask them for directions, but all of them seemed to ignore us. I tried to make some small talk with May every now and then, but her replies were always short and didn't leave much room for follow-ups. But she perked up when I asked her about her family. I have a sister. At first I thought that would be all I'd get out of her, but she continued after a short pause. She's been home more recently. Usually she'd leave early and return late, or not return home at all for several days. Her job is really important, so it makes sense. But I was really happy when she told me that she wouldn't go to work for a while. I assumed she was finally able to request some time off. But she continued to work even at home. May hung her head. It seemed like I had touched on a sensitive topic. I thought of ways to console her or cheer her up, but couldn't come up with anything to say. Since I didn't have any siblings, it was hard to relate, but it seemed like she really loved her sister. I'm finally playing a character I can relate to. I too have no siblings. And I mean, it's great if you're close to your siblings. I just can't imagine, because I can't imagine a sibling. I mean, I can imagine it, but I can't imagine it, you know? I could actually relate more to May's sister. Really, Scott, are you a workaholic? Just as her, I too have barely been home due to my work. And just like her, I'd likely be working even if I was home. And as opposed to May's sister, I didn't have anyone who was expecting me back home. I decided against poking any further and instead shifted my focus back to asking people for directions. Without much luck. What a surprise! Oddly enough, it was as if they were all going in the same direction, the town center. Do you think they're going to see that performer? Silence. Maybe she just hadn't heard me. I turned around to ask her again, but she was nowhere to be seen. Dun dun dun! Just as I finished that thought, I felt a presence behind me. Is it the plant dog? Is it the plant dog? Or is it the performer? I slowly turned around. Frederick? Buddy. Your eyes! Sir! Sir! Oh, your cheek, oh, and I was so distracted by the eyes, I didn't even notice the huge bit in the forehead. What happened? What the hell? What do you think? Do I look funny? What? No! Get away from me! I took a few steps back, almost afraid the man would lunge at me. But he didn't. He just stood there. I see. Maybe I didn't do it quite right. And with that he walked off, disappointed. He took a book out of his pocket and started flipping through it. For some weird reason, he seemed familiar. This town was giving me the creeps. I needed to get out of here as fast as I could. But as I turned around, I saw that most of the people walking by had distorted their faces in one way or another. It was as if a virus had spread while we were looking for help. This was madness. I needed to get out of here. But where to? And where was May? I was getting kind of worried. I took a look around and thought about what to do. Stay on the main street. It should be easier to find May or a police station that way. Go through the back streets and avoid attracting any unwanted attention. So nothing's ever lurking in the alleyways. I feel like both have pros and cons that could make them the silly horror movie choice, but I think for now, we'll stay in Main Street, you know? I felt uneasy around these people, but I didn't want to negatively impact my chances at finding help. Quickly, I hurried off while trying to ignore everyone's gaze. But wherever I went, those people were everywhere. On top of that, the town seemed to have no end. I couldn't find a road that led out, no matter how long I searched. Just as I was wondering about what to do, I recognized someone standing near a building. There you are! You had me worried. Oh, I'm sorry. I had something to take care of. That sounded oddly vague. But I didn't want to be rude, so I dropped it. She did give me a sandwich after all. Yeah, a sandwich that I'm sure had no impact on anything whatsoever. Did you have any luck finding your way back home? No, still nothing. And on top of that, there are all of these weird people walking around. Actually, I know someone who may be able to help. You do? Yes, they don't live far from here. How about I introduce you? And no worries, they don't own a dog. Why would you think I'd be worried about that? It's not, I mean, you weren't exactly subtle in the last door, May, but come on. Oh, yeah, sure. Wasn't she new in this town? Maybe she met them while we were separated. And why did she bring up dogs? It's not like I ever told her whether I did or didn't mind dogs. Perhaps I said something during my small talk attempts that made her think that way. I considered questioning her, but this was the only lead I had found so far, and I didn't want to lose this chance. We arrived at an old, tall building. I watched May from the corner of my eye. Something seemed different about her, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Perhaps it was just my imagination. They live on the highest floor. This building is pretty old, and not many people live here anymore, so it's a bit run down. I'd appreciate it if you went first. 'Cause that doesn't sound like a setup. I didn't protest and let us into the structure. The building was quite desolate, just as she had said. This place made me feel uneasy. I didn't want to stay here any longer than I had to. And it is on that lovely note that I will grant Scott his wish, assuming you don't think he's stuck here idling for the entire time until next time. Okay, that is the neat little ribbon on today's adventures in this strange, strange town. I'm sure that we will find so many wonderful things in that desolate building. Please, comment below, what do you reckon? Weird plant, fungi, pet combinations? Sentient cruise ships? Combination of both? Something else entirely? What could it be? Listen, it has doors. I think it's reasonable to think that behind some of those doors might be the other doors. Or, you know, maybe we'll just walk into it, literally just one singular giant mushroom in the middle of the building. Maybe that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to do the good old like and subscribe. Check out the channel if you like the horror content. And until next time, I hope you're having a better day than Scott, who's just having fatal experiences and then just waking up to have more bizarre and unusual events before his next potentially fatal or endless experience.